We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Fishing for plastic on Amsterdam's eco-friendly canal cruises. Lyon landscapers search for plants able to resist climate change.
Qui faisait partie de la composition.
On Tunisia's beaches, citizens are at war against trash. Heat wave takes a toll on bees in northern France.
Chez eux, il y en a beaucoup. Chez nous, on a de la chance d'avoir beaucoup.
In Paris, commuters are handed water bottles during the heat wave. Threatened by drought, German forests lose their trees.
Active layer, this worsening of the thawing.
Global warming looms large over Mont Blanc.
Begonnen mit absterbenden Bock.
Cars pose threat to carbon-neutral Bhutan. Plus, Hawaii plays an important role in America's space program, then and now.
Actual moon rocks and small Hawaiian.
Hello everyone, I am Rose Papa Angeles, bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, broadcasting from our Washington, D.C. studio. Equipped with fishing rods and thick gloves, a group of people peered into the water from one of the many boats that line Amsterdam's famous canals. But it's not fished or hunting on their cruise along one of the Dutch capital's most famous tourist attractions. It's plastic. With ecotourism booming around the world, the canal cruises run by Dutch group Plastic Whale are reeling in big business.
Obviously, you're on the beautiful canals of Amsterdam in a really nice boat, but at the same time you're active as well, and you add something positive to the canals and to the city because you're making it cleaner.
Marius Smith set up the company 8 years ago, aiming to create economic value from the plastic waste the tourists dredge from the canals. Plastic bottles are separated from the rest of the trash and are then recycled to be used in office furniture or in building more plastic whale boats. Smith said in 2018 the Plastic Whale cruises, which also run in the port city of Rotterdam, drew 12,000 visitors, and this year they expect more. Britain's Prince Harry was due to be among the visitors earlier this year but had to cancel due to the birth of his son Archie. On a hot summer's morning, 7 people are lined up on the bright green boat decorated with smiling whales. Angela Katz, an Australian who has lived in Amsterdam for just over a year, is on her second tour after learning about the cruises through Facebook.
Really enjoyed it, but also it's really eye-opening just how much rubbish there is in all the canals. So, yeah.
During the 2-hour tour, they fish out a bizarre range of objects, including various shoes, ski gloves, bleached-out soda cans, wine bottles, a nappy, and even a whole pineapple.
Yes, but I'm more surprised with the amount of waste, stuff that is not even used, utilised.
And last year we collected more than 46,000 bottles. We counted them by hand, believe it or not, and 2 to 3 times the volume of other sorts of materials. You find a waste bin and it's already full. People put their stuff just underneath the waste bin, for instance, and one person starts and the other does it also. So before you know, there's a lot of waste on the streets. And then it begins to rain, or the wind begins to blow, and it rains or blows into the canals.
With global warming, gardeners at Lyon's botanical gardens are having to completely rethink their planting scheme and are looking for vegetation that will be able to adapt to the climate of the next 20 to 30 years.
Donc aujourd'hui se pose la question du remplacement de près de 200 arbres qui étaient présents sur le parc, qui faisaient partie de la composition d'origine du parc et pour lesquels on ne va pas pouvoir remplacer avec la même essence puisqu'elle n'est plus adaptée aux conditions climatiques.
Le changement climatique va effectivement nous amener à planter de nouvelles espèces qui viennent d'autres continents, mais elle va aussi éliminer des espèces qu'on a l'habitude de voir et qui sont aujourd'hui de moins en moins adaptées au climat lyonnais.
Tunisian volunteers of Tunes Cleanup collect trash on a beach in La Goulette.
Réducteur de dégâts déjà, et en l'occurrence aussi on veut bien sensibiliser donc les vacanciers donc sur le problème du plastique, parce que là même au bout de notre collecte on discute, on échange, on explique bien. La question environnementale c'est pas une priorité, c'est pas topé comme priorité pour les autorités ou le gouvernement. Pour la simple raison, on considère toujours l'environnement quelque chose de luxe, sinon pas quelque chose de souverain pour le pays. Donc l'écologie, c'est quelque chose de souverain, à l'instar de la sécurité, à l'instar de l'agriculture et autres.
Oui, le problème essentiel actuellement, c'est le problème en matière de budget. Donc, les ressources qu'on dispose en matière de budget de l'État actuellement, c'est pas grand-chose. Malheureusement, peut-être les conditions économiques du pays nous obligent donc de ne pas avoir suffisamment de budget. Nous sommes très limités là-dessus. C'est environ 3,2-3,5 millions de dinars cette année, l'année 2019. Mais également tous responsables, le citoyen en tant qu'exploitant direct, il cherche son bien, il profite, il travaille, il génère des déchets et également il est responsable dans cet écosystème, il doit le préserver. Donc c'est sa responsabilité de bien se comporter envers cet écosystème.
والله نقول لك العباد يا خويا تكون واعيه وتكون نظيفه كيما تحافظ على دارك تحافظ على الشارع نتاعك خاطر الشارع نتاعك هو تابع دارك خاطر انت كي تخرج تلقى الدنيا نظيفه تبدا مرتاح فهمتي تبدا الدنيا مصلحه.
In the Salon region of northern France, record high temperatures are leaving bees short of nectar and dissuading them from leaving their hives, causing difficulties for beekeepers.
On est en pleine canicule, il n'y a plus de montée en nectar sur des fleurs et les abeilles, comme on peut voir là, il y a aucune, les abeilles ne volent plus, elles restent sur la planche d'envol ou à l'intérieur de la ruche en attendant que les meilleures conditions climatiques se présentent. Et malheureusement, on ne les voit toujours pas et ça commence à durer. Ça fait depuis début juin où c'est catastrophique d'un point de vue de la chaleur. Donc, on espère que le beau temps va revenir pour avoir un petit peu de fleurs qui arrivent, quoi. Là, la chaleur, je suis persuadé que ça les empêche de voler dans de bonnes conditions. Et même si elles volaient, elles ne trouveraient rien. Donc, elles se rendent compte que ce n'est pas rentable de sortir de la ruche. On est vraiment sur une saison particulière. La saison est terminée. Là, on est en phase d'hivernage. Alors, c'est dur à dire en pleine période de canicule, mais la reine a commencé à arrêter de pondre pour réduire la population d'abeilles, pour l'adapter au mieux à son environnement, et vu qu'il y a moins de fleurs, donc moins d'abeilles dans la ruche. Donc c'est une évolution.
La nature est sèche, elle est morte. On est à une époque où la bruyère devrait être en fleurs. Il y a notre thym de Sologne. Il est sec, c'est devenu du fourrage, mais c'est pas nourrissant pour nos abeilles. Dans l'écosystème un peu de notre Sologne, c'est qu'on s'aperçoit, si vous voulez, dans les années passées, où la nature nous réveillait, nous parlait, et on avait les oiseaux qui chantaient, les chevreuils on les entendait s'appeler entre eux, et puis là, on n'entend plus rien.
Paris on Thursday baked in an all-time high temperature of 108.7 Fahrenheit as a ferocious heat wave smashed records across northern Europe, sparking concerns about public health and causing new misery for rail travelers. As records also tumbled in Belgium, the Netherlands, and Germany, Paris beat the previous top of 40.4 Celsius set in July 1947. Trains have been slowed in several European countries to avoid damage to the railway networks. French national operator SNCF urged travelers to delay journeys planned for Thursday, while German railway company Deutsche Bahn offered travelers a chance to change tickets free of charge. In the sweltering French capital, authorities warned people to keep an eye on those living alone. Employees of RATP, the agency that operates the Paris Underground train network, hand out nearly 5,000 water bottles every day to commuters at Saint-Lazare station as a heat wave blankets Europe.
Nous-mêmes, on distribue toute la semaine, là, sur différents sites tous les jours, des bouteilles d'eau à nos clients. C'est des bouteilles d'eau réutilisables, qu'on invite nos clients à réutiliser tous les jours. Chaque jour, on choisit 4 ou 5 sites qui sont choisis exprès parce que ce sont des sites où on a de très nombreux clients pour servir le maximum de clients. Et on choisit bien sûr les heures les plus chaudes de la journée, puisque c'est vraiment à ce moment-là que ces bouteilles arrivent à point nommé.
Je sors du travail, je rentre chez moi, j'ai chaud, il y a une bouteille d'eau à disposition, c'est parfait.
Local authorities have placed restrictions on water usage in many areas due to drought-like conditions that have seen ground and river water levels fall dramatically. Water restrictions are in place in 73 out of the 96 mainland departments, with the worst affected areas in the Loire region of central France, as well as the southwest and the southeast. This summer's second heat wave has amplified concerns in Europe that human activity is hitting the planet at a dangerous rate. The World Weather Attribution WWA team said this month the June 26 to 28 blast of heat in France was 4 degrees Celsius or 7.2 Fahrenheit hotter than an equally rare June heat wave would have been in 1900. Coming up, threatened by drought, German forests lose their trees. Global warming looms large over Mont Blanc. Cars pose threat to carbon-neutral Bhutan. Plus, Hawaii plays an important role in America's space program, Then and Now. Eagle News will be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News. High up in the natural wonder of the French Alps, the climbers who spend their days among the rock faces and glaciers have come to a grim conclusion. The mountains are falling down around them. In the valley of Chamonix, in the shadow of the Mont Blanc, global warming is on everyone's minds.
Walking on snow is still possible on the Mont Blanc. But for how long? Frenchman Loïc Tivierge wants to be a mountain guide, like his father before him. From a young age he's learnt every part of this glacier, but now the landscape is changing before his very eyes, like here on the Arête des Cosmiques ridge.
We never thought things would fall here, and it all fell last September. It used to be a very classic route, and now we're wondering whether we can even take it. It's become dangerous, and we're wondering whether something even bigger might break off, like the whole right side.
The
more the glacier melts, the more the rocky faces collapse. The mountain is unstable, and mountain guides are having to adapt, because tourism is on the rise, and more inexperienced climbers want to tackle the routes.
Avant, il y avait des courses qu'on pouvait faire en plein été, des courses de neige. Et
we used to be able to do some runs in the height of summer on snowy trails, and now that's finished.
On a beaucoup de rochers.
We can only go in winter now, or not even at all. There are lots of rocks. You used to be able to climb, but now with the degradation of the permafrost, that's unfathomable and almost dangerous.
Donc en fait, là, l'évolution principale.
So for us, we're having to adapt. We're having to deal with the situation that's getting worse.
Les choses qui vont pas aller en s'améliorant.
The millennia-old permafrost acts like cement between the rocky faces. Of the 100 trails highlighted in a 1973 list, 26 have been heavily affected, and 3 have disappeared altogether. 3,842 meters up, on the platform of the Aiguille du Midi, this glaciologist is taking notes. The mountain is rife with weather stations and thermometers at various altitudes, but collecting the data has to be done in person.
It's this active layer, this worsening of the thawing every year, that we believe to be at the root cause of rock faces collapsing.
Florence Magnat and her team at the Mont Blanc University are unequivocal on the issue. Temperatures rise between 1 and 1.5 degrees every decade. At that rate, in 30 to 40 years, the permafrost will have completely disappeared at this altitude, and the consequences are great for the million-odd visitors who visit the site every year.
Obviously, there'll be an increase in instability. We're already noticing that, with bigger parts falling off during hot summers. And we're also noticing that during summer heat waves like in 2015 or 2003, there are lots of collapses. So there's an increase in both the frequency and the amount of collapses.
Today, Florence Magnat's partner is none other than mountain guide president Olivier Grébert, who started his career in 1986. He says that collaboration between guides and glaciologists is vital.
On travaille en collaboration avec nos amis scientifiques qui arrivent.
We work alongside scientists who are now able to give us early signs of potential events.
D'événements potentiellement, mais eux-mêmes sont bien incapables de dire.
They're incapable of telling us when and where, but they can see if sound is collapsing or if water is dripping in certain areas where it shouldn't be.
À certains endroits où a priori ça ne devrait pas se produire.
The face of tourism is also changing. This train takes tourists up 1,913 meters every day to admire the Sea of Ice, a valley glacier which is also shrinking. So much so that the Sea of Ice now looks like a sea of stones. Here too, the rocky faces above the glacier have been collapsing for years.
We can see greyish zones where it's collapsed recently because we can see the oxidated parts and the parts which have recently come apart, like on the Bonatti pillar here.
Today, glaciologists like Luc Moreau have a new role to raise awareness of global warming.
Every day from June 15 to September 15, there is a glaciologist here witnessing the evolution of this landscape, which changes permanently, just like the rest of the planet. Vegetation, mountains, melting snow. Here the water is collected by EDF to produce energy, hydroelectricity. The glacier changes and loses mass. We have to create stairs because the grotto is still there.
To enter the ice grotto, tourists need to walk down 152 steps. Along the way, signs chart the decline of ice levels. Every spring, engineers need to dig out a new cavity even lower for access. The inside is still magical, but many tourists notice the changes.
I came when I was young with my parents, around 30 years ago, and it's true that there was a lot more snow on the glacier.
We used to come here to admire it, but now we just come to see the extent of the damage.
It's quite frightening to think of climate change and the visible impact on glaciers in France and across the world.
In 2017, a rocky mass of 4 million cubic meters came loose in the Swiss Alps, killing 8 hikers and destroying a local village in the process. All glaciers are concerned. Bad news for the 25,000 mountain climbers who make the pilgrimage to Europe's highest peak every year.
The environmental organization Bund Naturschutz said facing water shortage and crushed by high temperatures, German forests are in a dramatic situation. 100,000 hectares of forest may be threatened by the extreme heat and drought conditions.
Die Rinde ist schon weg, ne? Der Baum ist jetzt hier schon tot, der Specht, der Baum wird auch schon von Käfern besiedelt, Käferlarven sind hier drin. Es zu dramatischen Entwicklungen kommt. Es hat 2015 begonnen mit absterbenden Bäumen, absterbenden Waldteilen und nach dem Hitzesommer 2018 hat sich das nochmal dramatisch ausgeweitet, auch auf viele Landesteile in Deutschland. Die tieferen Lagen, die wärmeren Lagen sind betroffen und nicht nur die Nadelwälder, die an so ein Klima nicht so gut angepasst sind. Also die Kiefer und die Fichte mögen eher kühleres Klima. Und wir bewegen uns ja eher in ein heißes Klima.
A boom in car sales may jeopardize Bhutan's rare status as carbon-negative country. Traffic jams and rush hours are becoming an everyday reality in Thimphu, one of the smallest capital cities in the world and the birthplace of so-called gross national happiness. Famed for valuing gross national happiness over economic growth, Bhutan was a poster child for sustainable development. But a boom in car sales may jeopardize its rare status as a carbon-negative country and is in danger of testing the good humor of its citizens. According to Transport Authority Director General Pemba Wangchuk, Bhutan had just 19,000 cars, buses, and trucks on the roads in 2000, compared to 102,309 in March this year, with capital Thimphu hardest hit by the influx of vehicles. Honso Wangdi, a media consultant, says the congestion and lack of parking now makes driving stressful in the tiny Himalayan kingdom where there are no traffic lights. Wangdi wishes there were fewer cars. Officials estimate there is now 1 car for every 7 people in Bhutan, which has a total population of 750,000, and where the economy has grown 7.5% each year over the past decade, according to the World Bank. But the nation's narrow country lanes and outdated city roads can barely cope. A lack of infrastructure, along with poor driving etiquette, some simply leave their cars parked in the middle of the road, compounds the problem. In the capital, a solitary officer directs traffic.
Lochile lochi kachim sochinda gari lochile lochi mamambe ten temi mamambe nasa ko mambe zoni kanyami ani begang lete kanyil di mapaler jo.
Amma be wachin lam lesha mi lam atchi bero gari nyuni di traffic jam lo se deni me wala ke magi ta lo ngam tumchi ki jable di na sare kanyil bom yasi.
Bus service tombe ani be tu wachin frequently la tamna datu be chin tamna chamchi mato ngachi no sa anzo mindu bala bus service ta anzo tu wachin di tengachi kharcha dina jambe te ani bus na travel be onse junvi.
Morning rush hour journeys that once took 5 minutes now take more than half an hour. They may seem a small figure compared to the hours of gridlock faced by commuters in Manila, Jakarta, and Bangkok. But it is a step change for the Bhutanese, who say the situation has rapidly deteriorated in the past year.
Basically, we are saying for every 7 citizens, there's a car. You look at the statistics, out of that, 65% are personal cars.
The traffic jams are a sign of the wider economic changes the nation is facing. Bhutan is renowned for prioritizing gross national happiness over GDP and has captured tourist imagination as tranquil, idyllic land, but there are signs of malcontent. According to the World Bank's 2018 report, the youth unemployment rate is high, as is rural to urban migration, which puts a strain on the resources of towns and cities. Despite its reputation as a place where well-being is prioritized, it ranked 95 out of 156 countries in the 2019 UN World Happiness Report. The internet and smartphone boom are fueling modern desires, while dealers are filling their showrooms with new brands and models from Japan and South Korea to lure buyers. And while taxes have increased and restrictions put on vehicle loans, car buyers are not discouraged. Local financial institutions gave 3.2 billion ngultrum, or $46 million in car loans in 2015, but by last year the amount had reached 6.7 billion ngultrum, or $96 million. The figures please local businessmen but worry environmentalists concerned about Bhutan's efforts to preserve its status as one of the world's greenest countries.
Because custom duty is also payable, whereas vehicles brought from India, no custom duties payable. So because of that, the law. So that's how our Creta started to do very well.
Meanwhile, in Hawaii, the Polynesian culture in the Pacific, well known for its longboats and canoes, has also been associated for its explorations, first in the oceans and more recently in outer space. Hawaii correspondent Mio Asenas takes us to an event that not only celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 moon landing, but more importantly, demonstrated Hawaii's ties to America's space program, even to this day. Take a look.
I always see the connection between the seafarers and the spacefarers. They had vessels, they had a crew, navigation, they had a mission plan. The connection is wonderful.
50 years ago, astronaut Neil Armstrong made one small step for man and one giant leap for mankind. And Hawaii made a huge role in making that achievement possible.
As a matter of fact, you know, the word astronaut comes from star sailor. And so you can see the connection even in the words themselves.
The one-day event was recently held at Windward Community College in Kaneohe. There were free shows, a NASA exhibit showcasing actual moon rocks, and small Hawaiian flags that were brought to the lunar surface. There was also food, music, and lots of family fun, especially for children and even adults who might not remember a lot about this historic event.
What we're trying to is ignite the imagination of kids, to follow in the footsteps of those bold astronauts, to take that risk, take that bold leap, and to pursue things that they think might be a little bit difficult, but maybe will be a life changer for them. So what we do as teachers is we touch the future by teaching.
Most of the exhibits on display highlight the long and rich connection between America's space program and the Aloha State.
Hawaii played a very prime role in the Apollo program. Many people don't know that. And so from the very beginning, before they even went to the moon, the Apollo astronauts came to Hawaii and they explored the lava terrains of our mountainsides, because the basalt lava right here in Hawaii is very similar to the lava that they would have on the moon. When they came back, they splashed down on the Pacific Ocean about 900 miles away from our islands. They were picked up by an aircraft carrier and they were shipped straight to Pearl Harbor.
Even long after the Apollo mission, Hawaii continues to contribute in space exploration.
There are different organizations like HiSeas, which does simulations to see what it would be like to live on the planet Mars. And so that's one of our simulations and our connections. There's another group called Pisces, which is looking at the aerospace industry in the state itself. Mm-hmm. So, and there's also a possibility that we may establish a spaceport on the Big Island. And that's an exciting thing. And that would come through the Hawaii Spaceflight Lab, which is located on UH Manoa.
And now what about this new and exciting chapter for the next generation of spacefarers?
Oh, Artemis is the new moon program. And it was named purposely because in Greek mythology, there were twins, a boy and a girl. The boy's name was Apollo. And the Apollo mission was named actually from a broader sense as opposed to just being a moon mission. Well, the new mission now, to go back to the moon, is named after his twin sister, Artemis. And so we're now looking to go back to the moon, and one of the goals is to try to reach it by 2024.
Reporting from Kaneohe, Hawaii, I'm Mio Asenas, 1 with 25.
Thanks, Mio. That is today's Eagle News. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I am Rose Papa Angeles, and I am 1 with 25.